Hey everyone, it's David, and I got some good questions regarding more specific background on the definition between like a root energy versus an expression. So I thought I'd do a quick video here. Maybe I'll even sneak this into the course for people. Um, but to me, the root energy is really the most simplistic, short phrase, shortened definition meaning you can have for a card that is totally independent of any other cards or the positions in the spread, whereas the expression is like full complete sentences, connected to other cards, is very dependent on what's around it and related to other cards and the positions. So that's where you kind of form your full sentence, but the root energy almost never changes. So let me give you some examples of how that goes through, especially as you do different readings. So I got here, so this is the Two of Cups. So like with some of its most root energy, this would be like an emotional spark. So this is two coming together, which in numerology means things coming together. So this would be the spark, and cups dealing with your emotions. This would be some kind of emotional spark that you feel connected to, something that connects two coming together, feel connected to. That's it. That's it for the root energy. Everything I just told you does not depend on any cards around it, whether you're asking for a relationship reading, a job reading, career reading, home life reading, whatever the case may be. That's all that covers it. So, but the full expression of this can go very broadly. So, depending on the context, depending on what other cards you see around it, and what type of reading it is, this could be for relationship reading or dating, it'd be someone you find you just met that you're attracted to. So maybe not someone you're currently dating, but someone you might, if I would ask you, who you might want to date or are attracted to, it would be this individual. In a work context, it could be the fact that maybe you have a good spark, a good idea, or it's an idea that you're connected with, or if you're interviewing across multiple jobs or businesses, depending on the context, this would be the company or the job that you feel most connected to or resonate with, that you feel like would be the right decision for you. So that's why I kind of separate the two. So at its root energy, it's really just a spark on the emotional level of something coming together. You and something else coming together emotionally. That's it. It would be completely inappropriate to confuse those expressions. So a lot of times people memorize just one meaning of the card, one definition that is often an expression. So it'd be completely inappropriate if someone's asking for a career reading and this card comes up and you say, oh, you must be attracted to somebody at work, or your boss just gave you a new project. They're asking, oh, you must be attracted to your boss because that's what this means. That's not what this means. It means there's something that you spark to or resonate with emotionally. And depending on the other context around you, especially the context of a career reading, it might be like, oh, this is finally the position you've been waiting for. You resonate with the work, you resonate with the company, the culture, you've got a good idea for the business, whatever the case may be. It does not mean you're going to go down a rabbit hole that's completely wrong and doesn't make any sense to the reader or anybody else if you think this is the you're attracted to someone card. That is one possible expression, and that could make perfect sense because you could spark with someone emotionally in a relationship context if that's what the reading's about, if that's what's going on in your life. But if it's a career reading, that may be completely inappropriate and people may completely resonate with it. And that's where some readings can go totally wrong, is if you really, the right way to do a reading to me is to start with all the root energies you can. And those are like the puzzle pieces you put together to then stitch what the correct and right expressions could be, because certainly the cards in any positions, it could be, I could give you the same cards in the same positions and say, this is a relationship reading and it may be very different. Or this is a career reading and it may be very different. And that's how you kind of pick up the clues and the context between stitching the root energies together and the positions to figure out what the right expression is to come up with the connected story. But the root energy never changes, and the expression will vary from reading to reading depending on the position, the cards around it, or even what type of reading that the client is even asking for. Let me go through and give you some other examples. This is one that I mentioned before in the course video. So this is the Three of Swords. So since three in numerology is about creation or spontaneously creating things, so this is a release of pent-up emotion. So something that kind of comes out of burst, and since swords are dealing with communication, this is like a release of pent-up emotion. That's all it is. From me telling you that this is a release of pent-up emotion, you have no idea if I'm talking about a relationship reading, a career reading, trouble with your families, a life path reading. I didn't tell you whether this is coming in the future. I didn't tell you if this is coming in the past. I didn't tell you if this is your energy or the energy around you. That's all this is simply a release of pent-up emotion. Now, the full expression of this can go many, many different ways. It could lead to certainly, a love triangle leading to a breakup, a betrayal, an affair that just came to light. It could be, like really feeling like you literally got backstabbed or a betrayal from your friend. It could feel like, really, this would be the emotional feelings you felt if your work all of a sudden laid you off spontaneously for no reason. You feel like that's totally, or fired you, and you're like, I feel like this is totally out of the blue and totally unwarranted. All of those things are valid expressions, but to get to those exact expressions and to know those are the right possible expressions, that's going to depend completely on the position of the card, the type of reading they're asking for, and what other cards are related in the reading to kind of stitch together all those phrases to a full and complete sentence that this is a part of. But the root energy of a release of pent-up emotion, it never changes. So that's why it's always better to kind of, in your reading, start with all the root energies and then kind of go through and stitch them together, figure out, well, what's the right expression for each one. I'm going to go through and just do some more if that kind of makes sense. So this is the Four of Wands. So at its root energy, this is like four being, in numerology, being very stable. This is like a stable home. I think you could probably stop there. I kind of view this as like things are good at home, right? And so that's it. Again, I didn't tell you anything about if this is a relationship reading, a career reading, talking about your family, or anything else. And this is not a period in time before or after, and this is not related to any other cards in the reading. Possible expressions can vary. So this could be like if everything is calamitous and the rest of the cards are swords and lots of conflict, this could be like home is your sanctuary from all the chaos or conflict that may be going on in your life. So maybe you want to spend some more time there to recenter yourself and figure it out. Or it could be if you just, got married or moved or did something like that or bought a house, that this could be an expression of like, this is a very good, stable place for you to be and you're very happy and celebrating, kind of having that milestone in that foundation for your relationship going forward. So those are possible expressions that could occur depending on the situation, whether it's a relationship reading, a career reading, life reading, all those other things. But the root energy of stable home is always true, and then you need to use your context clues or everything else around it to go from, well, what does this mean, stable home? What does this mean in context with the other cards or the rest of the readings? So stable home, does that mean like, I don't know, this is where I should spend all my time? Well, no, that may not be true, but it may be if there's a lot of conflict, a place to get away, your sanctuary to get away from that conflict could be spending time at home rather than doing that. Or it could be in a relationship reading. This could be after a breakup, you feel a little bit relieved because now the chaos that had been in your home is now gone, and now you kind of feel like you can breathe, or your home life has gotten a little more balanced because that source of conflict and anger has been removed. Whether or not that was what your goal or what you wanted, this is a possible expression of the energy of the card. I'm going to just go through and kind of find other minor arcana cards that we can talk through. Where are these all the major arcana cards? Hermit. Okay, so this is the Five of Swords. So at its true root energy, this is really just win the battle to lose the war. That's it. Five in numerology means change. So the end meaning of this is we're going to have to change some of our thinking or some of our communication to get past this. So in this case, the root energy is win the battle, lose the war. I didn't tell you anything about anything else. In context, it could be, you're fighting an argument, but you're trying to win the argument, but that's if your goal is to keep the relationship together, you're losing the long-term keep the relationship together by trying to win the point of the argument that you have today. And therefore you need to change your communication of, well, I want this relationship to work out, the future focused one, but we need to change some things that we're doing here, whatever we're arguing about, in order to be able to move forward cohesively or together as a unit, right? Or in other conflicts type stuff, could be like in the work environment. It could be, maybe, yes, you are achieving short-term promotions or getting all the raises, whatever the case may be in a career context, but you're doing it at such cost by backstabbing or standing on people that long term it's going to come back to bite you. So yes, you may be conquering the business world right now, but long term it's not going to work out for you because all those people aren't going to be, as soon as you're their boss, you might be the one to get promoted and get all the money, but as soon as you're their boss, they're not going to want to work for you or help you out, and that's not going to work long term. So hopefully that kind of helps out. And if you still have other questions, ask them below. I would really appreciate some feedback on how to kind of explain this in better detail that makes sense. But the root energy is like short phrases. It never changes. It doesn't depend on any context or cards or positions. Whereas the final expression is like the full connected sentences and story, and it's very dependent on the other cards and the positions in the reading. Thanks.